So behind me is one of our market shelves, and it's in disrepair. So we're fixing it. It's actually the last one that we put together. Just put this one together. We had a friend come over a couple weeks ago and build these on a Friday. So we needed two of them ASAP. We started working a couple retail locations. One was a farm stand, and we ended up giving our market shelves to them so that they could store bread. And well, Saturday was coming up and we needed market shelves for ourselves for the market. So we threw this guy together. This is basically a modified design on version 1, which is right here. This is actually version 2, and I know it's version 2 because it's got stiff screws on the sides. We originally envisioned shelves that we could hinge, and that would hinge and would break down flat. And actually, here is a version 1 shelf. So we put these bolts through, and the shelf was supposed to hinge on these bolts. But then because we had used solid wood, even before we finished the original shelf, we decided to stiffen the shelves. It was just too cumbersome to fold. And then to also figure out the right design for the legs. So we ended up just doing stiff shelves. And this is sort of an updated design. It has a narrower shelf that's a little less angled in the middle that we could in theory put pastries on as well. So it was meant for both and meant for retail. We used this one at one of the markets. So this shelf came off, and it looks like the problem was that originally we used way too short of screws. So chances are all of these will be vulnerable, and so I need to find some spare time to probably go through all of them. So I've removed the small 1-inch screws that were supposed to go through this and hold it steady. You can see how little screw there is left over. And I'm actually going to replace them with something far more substantial and see if I have the clearance. So my shelf is going to be secured similar to this one. And it looks like I won't be poking through on the other end, at least I hope. So let's give it a go. Hoping all I need to do today is reposition this and screw it back in. Don't really have a whole lot of dedicated time for this type of stuff, and yet it ends up being just as important as anything else. Doesn't really matter if you're washing a dish or if you're fixing a shelf or if you're making the actual bread. It all needs to be done. Oh, it would help if I used screws that, this is a star and this is a star, but they're not the same size star. Why? I don't know this one. So I'm going to find something else. I'll be right back. I have crosses, but they're the right size. So we're just going to put these in by hand. Good old screwdriver. When my dad was doing all the construction, he started opting for the star screws. And so now we have both. And so inevitably, whatever I need, I don't have good access to the one that I need at the time or the right drill bit. Although I do think that the stars are a little bit more secure and they strip less and they go in. So if I don't do it manually and I use a drill, it seems like I'm less likely to strip a star screw than just a standard Phillips one. I got that one in. Get this side in, we'll line it up. So These shelves were put together with basic materials that you can find at the local hardware store. Somebody made a comment on one of the videos that we made that I thought was pretty compelling to respond to at some point. The comment was that in the background of our construction project here, it was apparent that there was some sheathing from Home Depot, some tieback sheeting from Home Depot. It had the Home Depot logo on it. And the comment was that we talk a lot about sourcing local and baking local, and why were we supporting the big corporation of Home Depot. And I mean, we buy everything as close to the source that we know. And I guess like the better answer to that question is what we're familiar with, we support local. Would I be opposed to getting all my building materials locally? Not at all. And if any of you have places I should look for the next project we take on, because I'm sure there will be. These shelves are put together with stuff you can find at Home Depot. These are just 1x2s. These are just 1x3s or 2x3s, and there's a couple 2x4s. There's one piece of board and some screws and some casters. If anything breaks on this, it's really easy to just take one of these and go to Home Depot and replace them. And these things, we wheel them up on our truck and we unload them at the market. All the bread is like wonderfully put together on these. And so we have this display that is vertical in nature and can be behind us. Also, it's behind us, so it's less vulnerable to, I mean, it can't get touched or anything, but it still looks really sharp, and it catches people's eyes from a distance. So we built these a while ago, and we're really happy with them.